If you didn't subscribe our channel yet, please subscribe our channel, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get our latest updates. Real, horrifying punishments around the world. Despite many countries abandoning capital punishment, the death penalty is still practiced around the world. And while the US has debated the constitutionality of lethal injection, other countries have no such scruples. Capital punishment via stoning, hanging, and even crucifixion are practiced in Middle Eastern countries as well as in areas controlled by groups like ISIS. Although it is a common misconception, these methods are not necessarily accepted Sharia law punishments. Even when offenders aren't sentenced to termination, they can still be harshly punished in ways that can't be considered anything other than cruel and unusual. Those who commit minor offenses, by US standards, are caned in Singapore, while similar offenders, such as petty pickpockets, have their hands chopped off in Iran and Saudi Arabia. In North Korea, people are swiftly locked away in labor camps. These punishments are real, and are sometimes even carried out on tourists. Here are some of the most real, terrible punishments still carried out in countries around the world. Hard labor for pilfering a poster, North Korea. North Korea has among the most restrictive and punitive legal systems in the world. Countless citizens languish in labor camps for minor offenses, or even for simply being related to an offender. A few foreigners have been given labor sentences as well. In one case, American student Otto Warmbier received 15 years for the offense of taking a propaganda poster without authorization. Warmbier was sent back to his family in 2017, but he was in a vegetative state and passed just days later. The harsh tactics employed on him are assumed to be responsible for Warmbier's condition. 2. Forced amputation, Iran and Boko Haram. With no Eighth Amendment to restrain them, a number of countries practice amputation as a punishment. In parts of Iran, officials have chopped right hands off at the wrist as punishment for theft, with repeat offenders often losing their other hand or even their legs. Boko Haram goes even farther, with such offenders or suspected enemies of Islam having their right hand and left foot cut off in a horrifying practice known as cross amputation, in which a hand and foot are cut off on opposite sides of the body. 3. Eye gouging, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is known to sentence people to biblical punishment of having an eye removed. One such example took place, in 2006, after an Indian man working in the country was involved in a fight where a man's eye was gouged out. The Indian man, in turn, was sentenced to have his eye taken out. The man was eventually pardoned, and it's not clear if any gouging ever actually took place. 4. Caning, Singapore. Caning as a form of corporal punishment has been legal in Singapore since the late 19th century, when it was colonized by England. While most of the developed world has prohibited physical brutality and punishment, Singapore still has caning on its books, and uses it. Thousands of young men in Singapore have been sentenced to lashes on the buttocks with a cane, and the vast majority of them have been carried out. In fact, Singapore's legislature has increased the number of lashes that can be given, and those who wield the cane are specially trained in how to use it and how fast they can swing it. The punishment can result in excruciatingly painful blisters. 5. Public flogging, Iran. Public flogging, Iran is listed 5 on the list real, horrifying punishments around the world. Religious hardliners in Iran use public flogging with a 3-foot whip as punishment for even the most minor of offenses. Public kissing, adultery, drinking or selling alcohol, and homosexual acts have all been punished by whipping. Foreigners have also been flogged for having relations with a Muslim. Anywhere between 10 to 100 lashes can be administered, with victims often passing out after a few, and post-flogging hospitalization is common. However, children are exempt from flogging, and the punishment can often be suspended if the offender pays a fine. 6. Stoning, Iran and Somalia. Stoning is listed 6 on the list real, horrifying punishments around the world. While Iran is quick to apply terminal sentences for minor offenses, the country has seemingly stopped carrying out executions by stoning, removing it from their code. However, even national laws can be overridden by Islamic sources. In 2015, a woman was sentenced to stoning for her role in the termination of her husband, but international outrage led to the stoning being suspended. The woman's fate remains unclear. Somalia has also carried out stonings, mostly in lawless areas controlled by militias. A young Somali girl was stoned after reporting the group of men who forced themselves on her. The men, however, were powerful militia members. Local police officers promptly apprehended her for adultery. 7. Hanging, Iran. Hanging, Iran is listed 7 on the list real, horrifying punishments around the world. In January of 2019, A 31-year-old man was hanged in public in Iran for committing homosexual acts. 8. Electrocution, United States. Electrocution is listed 8 on the list. Real, horrifying punishments around the world. Use of the electric chair has declined due to a number of botched executions where prisoners survived huge jolts of electricity or were set on fire. Electrocution is now only legal in 9 states in the United States, although it is falling out of favor. Lethal injection is the preferred method of enacting capital punishment, with the use of Old Sparky, or Old Smoky, depending on the area, as a last resort. 9. Crucifixion, ISIS. Crucifixion is listed 9 on the list. Real, horrifying punishments around the world. In 2014, ISIS reportedly sentenced 9 men in Aleppo to crucifixion. It is unknown whether these men were shot in the head before they were crucified, as is commonly the case in these territories. 10. Head removal, Saudi Arabia and ISIS. Head removal, Saudi Arabia. It is listed 10 on the list. Real, horrifying punishments around the world. Saudi Arabia is the only country that regularly executes offenders. However, when ISIS unveiled itself on the international stage in 2014, it did so with a wave of filmed head removals. The organization uses viral videos of enemies or traitors having their heads removed. This is used as a recruiting and intimidation tool, and such methods are instituted as a standard punishment in areas it controls.